The moment you take your first step toward the sacred dream, the world will not suddenly open its arms and scatter rose petals beneath your feet. In truth, it may rise against you with a ferocity you have never known, as if the air itself conspires to test the depth of your devotion, as if unseen hands are pushing against your chest to see whether you truly mean to walk this path, or if you are only flirting with the idea of transformation, and you will feel it in ways that shake you, your plans unraveling, your confidence punctured, your once clear vision blurring like ink dissolving in water, the light you chase casting longer, sharper shadows until every obstacle feels carved specifically to pierce your will. There will be mornings when you wake with doubt sitting so heavily on your chest, it feels like an iron weight pressing you down, whispering that perhaps you have misunderstood the call entirely. Yet it is in these moments, precisely in the silence between your panic and your breath, that the sacred dream begins its most mysterious work, shaping the hidden architecture of your soul in ways you cannot yet perceive. Imagine a mountain path coiling endlessly upward, the summit swallowed in shifting mists that reveal nothing of the end. Each jagged stone bruising your feet, each storm howling until you retreat into the cold hollow of a cave, thinking perhaps the journey was a mistake. But these stones and storms are not here to repel you. They are your teachers, whispering in the language of endurance, showing you the rhythm of patience, the necessity of courage to keep climbing even when the summit mocks you with its absence. And as the lessons etch themselves into the marrow of your bones, your steps begin to steady, your gaze sharpens, and your courage hardens into something the winds cannot scatter. Yet along the way there will be voices, some rising like a song, to lift you with their faith, others threading doubt into your heart with the skill of a weaver. And the world will tempt you with shortcuts, easy paths lined with comfort, where flowers bloom but no real transformation takes root. And you will have to remember that the way of light is narrow, not because it rejects the many, but because it demands the whole of you, your patience, your truth, your willingness to shed every weight that no longer serves your becoming. And yet, amid the storms and stones, there will come moments of beauty so pure, they feel almost unbearable. A sudden opening in the clouds where golden sunlight spills across your face, flooding you with a warmth that feels like a promise. A reminder so intimate, it feels as though the dream itself has placed a hand upon your shoulder, saying, I am still here, even in my silence. And in that moment you will understand that the path was never about avoiding the night. It was about carrying the light through it until the dawn arrives. And when it does, you will see that the trials never vanished. But you are no longer the same person who first met them, for you will stop seeing them as walls meant to block you and start recognizing them as sacred thresholds, doors you must cross to step fully into the destiny you were always meant to claim. And then there comes a shift so subtle that if you were distracted for even a heartbeat, you might miss it entirely, like the first breath of dawn that does not announce itself with trumpets, but with the quiet cooling of the night air. Like the way a seed splits in the darkness beneath the soil without a sound. Yet from that moment, nothing will ever be the same again. For the sacred dream that once hovered like a distant constellation beyond your reach now moves closer, until you can feel it living inside you, not as an idea you chase with desperation, not as a fragile hope that trembles with every disappointment, but as a steady, breathing presence that aligns itself with the rhythm of your pulse, a second heartbeat keeping perfect time with your own. You notice you have stopped scanning the horizon for signs, stopped begging the world to prove you are on the right path, because the truest sign has already taken root deep within you, a flame that does not yield when the winds rise, a warmth that does not fade when the shadows stretch long, and the doubts that once stood like towering, unmovable walls now dissolve into faint silhouettes, dancing harmlessly at the far edges of your light. The landscape of your life itself begins to tilt, and what you once believed to be a chaotic scattering of unconnected events reveals itself as an intricate, divinely woven tapestry, each thread laid by unseen hands, each knot deliberate, even, a tangled and twisted ones, each serving a purpose you could not yet comprehend in the years you were still learning how to see. You begin to sense the quiet gravity of this revelation, that the trials you once cursed were never punishments, but the precise chisels in the hands of a master sculptor shaping the vessel you were always meant to become. And this awakening, it does not crash into your life with lightning strikes or rending skies. It comes in whispers, in moments so ordinary, you might dismiss them if you were still looking for miracles in loud, dramatic forms the way sunlight falls across a page while you are reading. And suddenly, you realize you would not be who you are without the nights you thought would break you. The way you catch your own reflection, and for the first time, see not just the scars, but the strength they represent. You begin to understand the paradox that the very storms you prayed to escape were the storms that carried you here, that the very fires you feared were the ones that burned away what you could not carry into the life you were meant to live. And so you see now that the sacred dream was never simply about reaching a single, shining destination. It was about forging a soul strong enough, open enough, compassionate enough to hold it, live it, expand it without fear. Life, you realize, has never been about granting your every request on demand, but about slowly, deliberately building within you the capacity to hold the weight and beauty of the blessings you once begged for. This understanding changes everything. The ground beneath your feet feels different. The way you move through the world shifts. Courage begins to bloom within you, not the brittle courage born of defiance, but the kind that grows deep roots into the bedrock of your being, the kind that cannot be shaken by the tempests because it is nourished from a deeper source. You begin to step into challenges you once avoided, not because they are easier now, but because you are different, stronger, more whole. You speak truths you once swallowed, not to provoke, but because your voice is no longer at war with your heart. You offer compassion in places where before you withheld it, not out of obligation, but because you have seen the way grace can turn the smallest ember into a guiding flame. And this is no longer the imitation of a dream. This is its embodiment. You are no longer a seeker chasing some elusive star. You are its vessel, its voice, its movement through the world. And the world begins to notice, not because you shout your transformation from the rooftops, but because when you enter a room, something shifts as if a light too steady to be extinguished has quietly joined the space. But with this embodiment comes a truth you can no longer ignore. The light you carry was never given to you, so you could lock it away, like some fragile treasure hidden in the deepest vault of your soul. For light that is hoarded too long begins to suffocate, its glow dimming in the stale air of secrecy. And you realize, sometimes with shock, that the more you share it, the more it grows, spilling over the edges of your own life, traveling into places you have never been, igniting sparks in hearts you may never meet, setting in motion chains of courage and kindness that ripple outward beyond your sight. And here lies the sacred paradox of this journey, that the dream you once believed belonged only to you was always destined to be more than personal. It was meant to become a fire capable of reshaping the world. You see now that the sacred dream is not a possession to guard, but a river to flow through you, a current you cannot own but can join, a song not meant to be whispered by one voice alone, but to be sung in countless harmonies, a seed designed not to stay rooted in your garden, but to be carried on the wind to valleys and mountaintops your own feet will never touch. And as you walk with this knowing, your eyes begin to pick out the figures along the road pilgrims still wandering in the half-light, their faces lined with longing, their eyes scanning for something they cannot yet name, and without grand gestures or the need for recognition, you find yourself slowing your pace, extending your hand, not to drag them toward where you stand, but to walk beside them, until they feel their own flame stirring back to life. Because the journey was never meant to be solitary. It was always intended to converge into a great chorus of awakened souls, each voice carrying its own tone, each flame its own color, yet all woven together into one boundless horizon that stretches beyond the limits of sight. And in this great unfolding, you stop asking when the road will end, for you understand now that the road is not a line with a finish, but a living thing, a sacred pulse, and you stop fearing the storms because you have learned to carry your own weather within you, and you stop clinging to the old questions because they have dissolved in the clear light of a deeper knowing that the path itself has always been the arrival, that the becoming itself has always been the gift. The horizon you once chased so desperately was never some faraway line in the distance. It was being built inside you with every step you took, with every tear you shed, with every act of defiance against the darkness that tried to smother your light. And so you keep walking, not because duty demands it, not because you are chasing the approval of the world, but because you cannot imagine any other way to live, because to stop would be to betray the very truth that now breathes through you. And to those who still stand trembling at the threshold of their own calling, you would say this: the road will not be gentle, the night will not be short, and there will be times when the wind will howl so fiercely you will doubt the existence of your own flame. But if you dare to step forward, if you choose to keep that light alive through the rains and the tempests, if you protect it with your body and feed it with your faith, then one day, without realizing exactly when it happened, you will wake to find that the very world you once dreamed of has been taking shape inside your soul all along, waiting for the day you were strong enough to release it into the open air. So answer the call now, while it still whispers your name, before the noise of the world drowns it out, for the whisper will not last forever, but the life you build by following, it will echo into eternity.